council members are present with the exception of Councilwoman Debbie Lewis, who is out of town due to a death in the family. Council, if you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First up, we've got a special presentation. If I'm going to invite our police chief to come down and our town administrator as well, and I'll come around. Michelle? That's you too.
Yeah. You're the town administrator.
So we're joined on the Zoom feed by Pat Kendrick, who is the president of the Rotary Club of Parker for this presentation. He's going to read the certificate we have up here.
Thank you, Mayor Wade, Chief Serapis, and members of the Town Council. A resolution of the Rotary Club of Parker. Whereas the men and women of the Parker Police Department have protected the citizens of the town of Parker for more than 37 years. And whereas the Parker Police Department has achieved the highest standards of accreditation through the Commission on Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies, whereas the Parker Police Department has long been at the forefront of community-oriented policing and has practiced transparency when dealing with the public and in the implementation of policies that ensure fair and respectful interaction with the citizens it serves. Whereas the Parker Police Department has been a leader in 21st century policing, whose advice and counsel are sought after by other law enforcement agencies, both regionally and nationally. And whereas the brave and dedicated men and women of the Parker Police Department serve professionally, compassionately, selflessly, and with distinction, 24/7, 365 days a year. Now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Rotary Club of Parker hereby extend their profound gratitude and sincere appreciation to Chief Jim Serapis and each of the members of the Parker Police Department, both officers and staff, for helping to make the town of Parker a safe place to live, work, and recreate for all of its citizens and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I just want to say thank you to the Rotary and thank you for all of your support. We very much appreciate it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I know that I speak on behalf of council when I say that Parker is blessed to have, truthfully, the most amazing police department in this nation. The men and women who wake up every day and serve the citizens of Parker are second to none. So great to have that acknowledgement from the Rotary Club. Thank you very much. All right. So next up is where we would normally have public comment. Our general public comment items are submitted every day or every council meeting before 5 o'clock, and then they are compiled and will be forwarded on to council directly. The general public comment is for things that are not on our agenda, and so no action item is taken on them tonight, and they will be forwarded on. So next up, we've got our reports, items, comments from mayor and council. Before we go individually, council, each of you have received the resignation letter from Renee Williams, and I know Renee is online here, but before we get to Renee, we do have to take care of the business of that resignation. And so council, the appropriate motion, so if you so choose, would be to move to accept the resignation of Council Member Renee Williams for purposes of Section 2.9B of the Parker Home Rule Charter. The Town Council hereby determines that a vacancy exists as of September 21st, 2020.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from Jeff. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Renee, I know you're here on the Zoom meeting because I can see you across the way. Is there anything you wanted to add to tonight?
Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, but I didn't physically vote.
I didn't either.
Yeah,
it just popped up that it was all. Oh, hold up.
hold on.
Okay, well, let's do a voice vote on it then. Josh,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Jeff,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Renee, was there anything you'd like to add or say?
Yes, I was asked to read my resignation letter in for the record.
Okay,
Prior to reading my resignation letter, however, I would like to make a few statements.
okay, go right ahead.
Times are interesting. 9/11, COVID, civil unrest, this election cycle, weather patterns, and so much more. Please take a moment to reflect on the impact that these events are having on your family, your neighbors, your friends, your work colleagues, and even the strangers on the street. With that said, I would like to set the record straight. Just because you have read something does not mean it is true. There is so much fake news out there. I urge you to do your homework. Nobody forced me to resign. My situation is not like the Douglas County School Superintendent who is on paid administrative leave. I am not registered to vote, nor have I ever voted in Arizona. For this election cycle, I have a Colorado absentee ballot. Throughout my term in office, I have fulfilled every requirement, all commitments and all vacancy residency requirements. Had I chosen not to resign, every requirement would have continued to be met. And most importantly, I want to thank everyone that has supported me while on town council, those who assisted with my campaigns, those who voted for me, and the general public. With that said, following is my resignation letter sent to town council on Thursday, September 17th at 12:51 p.m. Colorado time. Crossroads, a crucial point where a decision must be made. I am sitting at my Arizona desk with a packed suitcase, a tank full of gas, a plane ticket, and a newly signed lease. I need to return home this afternoon to continue to satisfy the residency and vacancy requirements for Parker Town Council. My aging parents are across the street. I do not want to leave them. So as difficult as this decision is, I believe it is the right one. Effective 9/18/20, I am resigning from Parker Town Council. It has been a pleasure to serve, and I hope I have left Parker a better place for the people who have made Parker their home and for the business community. I urge you to choose your next leaders carefully, as they will impact your lives more than you know. Your leaders should be in it for the best interests of all, not for themselves. These are trying times with new challenges for all of us. Be kind, be graceful, seek to understand instead of being a keyboard warrior. I wish all of you peace, happiness, and good fortune. If you would like to speak with me, please text me at 720-641-0646. I miss all of you, and I look forward to seeing and serving you all again soon. Thank you.
Renee, thank you very much for reading that into the record, and we appreciate your service over the last 6 years and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you for your service, Renee.
Thanks.
Okay, so next up on our agenda, we've got our consent agenda.
Mayor, I think we were going to talk about the
I'm
the
sorry, you're
vacancy
right.
process.
My note right after this says, Jim, give explanations, and I apologize, my head's just not in it tonight.
So at this point, town council has declared that there is a vacancy in the position of town council. Now, the charter controls the next steps. Under the charter, in not less than 10 days nor more than 30 days after a vacancy in elective office occurs, the remaining council members, and that means 2/3 of you four, will have to agree to either an appointment or to scheduling a special election. If you don't fill the vacancy by appointment within 30 days, the town council is required in the charter to order an election. So at least according to my calendar, that would be October 21st. That would be the 30th day. so that you would have the opportunity to make the appointment at 2 regular town council meetings occurring in the future. The first would be October 5th. The second would be Monday, October 19th. Certainly, you could set a special meeting for the October 21st date if that's something you wanted to do. But again, that's council's prerogative. So essentially, you have a 10-day, what I'll call cooling off period. You can't do an appointment any sooner than 10 days from today. And this is an opportunity for you to get together and discuss potential appointments. And again, if you can't agree on an appointment, then the charter requires that you shall call an election within 90 days of the effective date of the vacancy, which is today, the 21st of September. So by December 20, which would be the 90th day, you would have to call the election. That doesn't mean you have to hold the election. That means you call the election. So you would call the election, and then since we are working with the county as a coordinated election under the Colorado Election Code, the minimum number of days to set the date would be 100 days, and that's under Colorado Revised Statute Section 1-7-1165. And basically that provision says, if by 100 days before the election a political subdivision has taken formal action to participate in an election that will be coordinated by the county clerk and recorder, the political subdivision shall notify the county clerk and recorder in writing. Failure to receive such notice in a timely manner does not prohibit the county clerk and recorder from entering into or performing an intergovernmental agreement to conduct the coordinated election on or behalf of the political subdivision. So if you adopt a resolution, for example, within the 90-day period, if you do it on November 2nd, the soonest you could hold the election would be February 16th. If you call the election on November 16th, the soonest you could hold the election would be March 2nd. And if you call the election on December 7th, the soonest you could hold the election would be March 16th. Those are both 100 days out. Carol, Chris, and I are going to work with the county to identify potential dates within that 100-day period, again, subject to town council approval, because you called the election by setting or by approving a resolution, just like you did for this regular election, which will occur on December 3rd. So everything stays the same. If anybody wants to fill the vacancy, they pull petitions. They'll have a certain period of time to circulate those petitions. If they're not adequate, there's an additional time added to cure the petitions. There'll be disclosures required in the Fair Campaign Practices Act. So for all purposes, the special election is going to have all the trappings of the regular election that you're going through right now, hence the 100-day period. And again, the county would actually be conducting the election. There would be an IGA with them in terms of the election itself. Carol did contact the clerk's office today in Douglas County to get an estimate of the cost to have the election, and right now it's approximately $54,000. So that's what I have to report. You don't have to call the election tonight. You don't have to come up with an election date. That's something that we can discuss as we move forward in this process. Any questions, Mayor, Council?
Council questions? Josh?
I just want to clarify, polling petitions is if and when there is a special election. But if citizens are curious, they're welcome to reach out to their current council members now. If they're looking to possibly be appointed or whatever, there's no hindrance now from somebody reaching out to any one of the 5 of us currently, correct?
Absolutely no limitation.
Okay. John?
Thank you, Mayor. Since former Councilmember Williams provided her resignation, a couple people have come up to me about a sort of a strategy as to potentially have the fourth place person of the current election be considered or be filled. Could that happen under the current system or process? Could you maybe kind of walk through that to say, yes, it is possible, or no, it is not? I'm just trying to create certainty here.
It is not possible. The 30-day window ends on October 21st. The election itself is going to be on November 3rd. So you would have to make that appointment prior to October 21st or prior to that date.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for Cheryl, any questions?
Nope, no questions.
Okay. All right, so reports, items, comments from mayor and council. John?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had an E470 meeting. We discussed and approved a couple of City of Aurora water line agreements. We continue to effort away on our board retreat. We're breaking them up into phases with the online and the availability of other board members. We have three chunks of time to go through our annual work plan. As a Dr. Cog and Regional Transportation Committee Board Chair, we dealt with two things, human service transportation. That was what Dr. Cog calls a set-aside pot, about $4.3 million, Douglas County, since they take care of our human service matters here within the county, and Parker as well. They got a $737,000 award. There was also something called the RTOT. It's Operations and Transportation, again, a set-aside pot of about $14.2 million. Within that, Parker was awarded a $400,000 award for a traffic response signal control system. That is going to be discussed more in detail at the October 26th study session. So if you're interested, come on down. I also attended the So Long to Summer 5K here Saturday, and also attended with Mayor Wade and Councilmember Rivero in Auburn Hills Community Park dedication, and I'm sure Mayor Wade will have more on that. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Jeff?
I just have two things. Number one is attended the Downtown Business Alliance liaison meeting last two Wednesdays ago, I guess on the 9th. They're doing some great, they're still in the process of trying to figure out how to bring more outdoor seating into downtown, and they're doing a whole lot there. Also, just to remind everybody that tomorrow night is the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Night. So check with the Chamber. I believe it's on Facebook Live and others, so check with the Chamber on that. That's it for me.
Cheryl?
Yeah, a couple of things. I do have a Douglas County Housing Authority meeting tomorrow. There's several contracts up for review. But the most exciting thing was we had a meeting with staff and a member of the Parker Historical Society, and this was for the Greater Parker Foundation, and discussion of the beginning of our discussion with a number of community groups and staff groups of what can this foundation do for them, what do they need, how can we collaborate? So the beginning.
Okay. Josh?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things for me. Had Cherry Creek Basin Water Quality Authority meeting, and just something starting to percolate. Sorry. So sorry. Anyway, our charge is obviously to conserve if we can. We have a ratio. 60% of our monies have to be spent in conservation or in protection of water. We are starting to look at and starting to explore both partnering with the Douglas County Land Conservancy and then the Arapahoe County's open space and other aspects of looking at properties and whether or not that is something that Cherry Creek could get involved in. So very exciting, similar to Semswa or Mile High. So excited about that direction. And then also prior to that meeting on Wednesday night, we had a legislative forum for current state legislators and county representatives. Anybody that touches the Cherry Creek Water Basin, met with current seated members and then also the candidates for those districts. It's always interesting to share what it is we do, kind of fly underneath the radar, but I believe very important work. So very proud to chair that organization and very proud to get the word out for that organization. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Excellent. And for me, I did attend the Auburn Hills dedication at the Auburn Hills Park. A local Girl Scout troop wanted to do a project where they could provide a piece of recreation equipment for kids with that are sensory challenged and mobility challenged. And these great young ladies raised $2,000 and put in, I think it was called a bird's nest swing at the park there for kids that have sensory challenges or mobility challenges. And it was a wonderful way for them to work together to make Parker a better place. And so hats off to those young ladies. They did a fantastic job with it. All right, so next up is our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine unless we have a motion to have one pulled off for further discussion or separate vote. Ordinances on the consent agenda are for introduction only and will not be removed for discussion. Now, council, in front of you, you have consent agenda items 5A through 5K. However, 5H, there is a conflict of interest with one council member, so I'm going to ask for a motion on consent agenda items 5A through 5K with the exception of H.
I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through 5K with the exception of H, please.
Motion by Josh, excuse me, second by John. Council, in just a sec, that'll pop up to vote. And then we'll have a separate vote on H.
I don't think we can vote. We can't, we don't have a quorum, do we?
Let's get through this one first.
Oh, I lost it, huh?
Okay, we'll do a voice vote. Josh,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Jeff,
I just voted, but yes.
John.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Jim, the question is on, with Councilwoman Pogue having a conflict of interest on item H, can the three of them still continue?
So I would agree with Councilmember Dyak. If Cheryl doesn't vote, then you don't have a quorum. So there is this thing called the rule of necessity. So based upon that, she gets to vote, and that's under Colorado Revised Statute.
Okay, so on item H then, I would need a motion for consent agenda item 5H.
I move to approve consent agenda item 5H, please.
Second.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from John. Okay, do we need to do a voice vote again, or can you? Yes, please. Okay. Josh,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Nay.
Jeff,
Aye.
John.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1. Okay, next item up on your agenda, public hearings is, let's see here. We've got first up is item 6A. Now, council, there's two items here that I'm going to read in, but we're going to have one presentation, but you will have two separate items to have motions and votes on. So this is for Carousel Farms, filings number 1, lot 11 and 12, block 1, fence variance. And let's see here, who's going to be leading us tonight? You are, excellent, Brianna. You go head on into it.
Wait for the presentation.
There we go.
Perfect. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council.
Do me one quick favor, though. Pull that microphone real close to you.
So sorry.
There you go. Perfect.
This is a request for a variance to a 6-foot privacy fence adjacent to open space. The public notice requirements for this both these applications have been met. The applicant, Julie Trail, is requesting 2 variances to allow for a 6-foot privacy fence adjacent to open space on separate lots. One is located at 16022 Hayloft Lane with a fence length of approximately 73 feet, and the other is located at 11092 Hayloft Street with a fence length of approximately 62 feet. The open space length in this area is approximately 125 feet long. The subject property is located northeast of Main Street and Newland Gulch Boulevard. Section 13.07.140C9E2 outlines the requirements for fences adjacent to open space. This section of the code was established in the year 2001 and states, where public parks and open space are bordered predominantly by private rear or side yards, only open fences, such as split rail fences no higher than 48 inches, may be erected on the common boundaries with the park or open space. Opaque fences and walls, such as privacy fences, are prohibited in yards bordering the park or open space. The intent of this section of the ordinance is to ensure that dedicated open space is accessible and open to the public, is not walled off, this area is not walled off, creating unsightly fence canyons, and is to enhance the safety by increasing visibility and eyes on the street within the public areas. Typically, these open areas are adjacent to trails, parks, and other pedestrian activities. Having open and limited height on fences provides additional visibility and of the pedestrian areas and enhances the presence of safety within these areas. Staff receives calls and questions on this section of the code on a regular basis. Every new development since 2001 has been subject to this requirement. The fencing adjacent to open space and near arterial roads is not an uncommon condition within developments built since 2001. Some of these include Horse Creek in proximity to Chambers and Jordan Road, Oldie Town near Jordan Road, and newer Bradbury Ranch near Jordan Road. Staff has been made aware of similar situations and potential variances that could be submitted if these variances are approved. In order to grant relief from the land development ordinance, the applicant must demonstrate a practical difficulty and undue hardship caused by narrowness of the lot, shallowness or shape of the specific piece of property, topographic conditions, or other unique physical conditions of such piece of property. If the town determines a variance may be granted, the variance shall not be detrimental to the public good or stray from the intent of Title 13 of the Land Development Ordinance. For example, a fence variance could be granted if the fence is located within a swale meeting the topographic conditions for a variance. Additionally, Section 13.040.260E provides that no variance shall be granted where, in the opinion of the council, the request is determined to be self-imposed hardship that can be rectified by means other than a variance. As an alternative, the applicant has the option of planting additional landscaping along their side of the property line adjacent to the dedicated open space, and that would provide additional screening, privacy, and a buffer from residents of the neighborhood using the open space and trail. Planning Commission heard this item on September 10th and recommended approval with a vote of 6-1 for both locations. This recommendation was based on the proximity to Main Street, length of the open space segment in question, and as the variance will not be detrimental to the town. Planning Commission recommended approval with the following two conditions. 1, that the existing split rail fence adjacent to the privacy fence be removed, and 2, the privacy fence be updated with additional decorative details in order to match the existing privacy fence along Main Street. Staff has reviewed the request and, as outlined in staff's report, has determined that the request does not meet the approval criteria set forth in the Land Development Ordinance. Staff is recommending that Town Council deny the variance request to allow for a 6-foot privacy fence adjacent to open space, as it does not meet the following approval criteria, as there is no practical difficulty or undue hardship caused by narrowness, shallowness, or shape of the specific piece of property, topographic conditions, or other exceptional conditions of such piece of property. Please note again that there are 2 separate requests tonight, which require 2 separate motions, and staff is available for any questions council members may have, and the applicant is also present this evening to answer some questions, and they would like to provide a presentation at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Before we get to the applicant, counsel, do you have any questions for Brianna before we go to the applicant?
No.
Nope. Okay, so I assume the applicant's on Zoom.
I am.
Okay. If you could just go ahead and state your name and address for the record, please, and then you can go ahead with your presentation.
Julie Trail, 16022 Hayloft Lane, Parker, Colorado, 80134.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak to you tonight regarding our fence variance. I am speaking to you on behalf of myself, my husband Adam, and our neighbors, me and Corey. We are petitioning the town of Parker for a fence variance as directed by our HOA. Our properties back up to Main Street, and the builder constructed a privacy fence on the back of our properties, which reduces the traffic noise and protects our child and pets. However, the side of our properties, which abuts the pedestrian access into our neighborhood from Main Street, originally had just a 3-foot 4-inch high split rail fence. This split rail fence is 50 feet away from the very busy Main Street and is not adequate to protect from the dangers of being so close to a busy street. This first slide is a picture of our privacy fences as they stand today with the split rail fence and our privacy fence behind it. Our privacy fence is 71 feet long, and as I said, it's 50 feet from Main Street. The privacy fence that we installed on the side of our properties reduces noise and gives us an adequate barrier between our property and the sidewalk to reduce the likelihood of any abductions of our son or pet, and reduces the likelihood of our son and pets getting over the fence and wandering into traffic. Next slide, please. This is a copy of the code listing that you can grant a variance due to exceptional difficulties. We do feel that granting us a variance would work in concert with the purpose of the code, as the first part of the applicable code supports special circumstances related to our location next to Main Street, a 6-lane road. The privacy fence supports the architectural look of the neighborhood and is like those that exist throughout our neighborhood and neighboring areas. Next slide, please. This is a picture of Bradbury Ranch, which is the neighborhood right next door to us. They have a privacy fence and split rail fence at the pedestrian access from Main Street. Next slide, please. This is another picture of privacy fence and split rail fence at the pedestrian access at a different access point in Bradbury Ranch from Main Street. Next slide, please. This is directly across from our properties. There's a privacy fence that runs along the entire pedestrian walkway. Next slide, please. And this is a picture of Clark Farms with privacy fences running along the pedestrian access. Next slide, please. And this is Clark Farms again with the privacy fences on the pedestrian access from Jordan Road. These and other neighborhoods all have privacy fences at the pedestrian access to their neighborhoods from a busy roadway, Main Street and Jordan Road, respectively. Our privacy fence does not impair the purpose of the code or cause a detriment to the public. Me and Corey originally submitted a request to the HOA for the privacy fence when their house was burglarized. Having a privacy fence has given them an improved peace of mind after being burglarized and their dogs jumping the fence. We submitted our request to the HOA for a privacy fence because having a young child, and we were concerned about our proximity to Main Street and the inherent dangers of possible abductions, burglaries, which increases due to the ability for the assailant to make a quick exit onto Main Street. Having a privacy fence during this pandemic has provided our 2-year-old son, who does not understand social distancing, to play safely in our backyard during this unusual time. It has given us peace of mind, especially when there was a motorcyclist who rode down the sidewalk and accessed Main Street. Originally, we both obtained approval from our HOA in June and July of 2019, respectively, to place a privacy fence behind the split rail fence, which we did. We received a letter from the HOA 8 months after the privacy fence was constructed, thanking us for completing the project according to the CCRs. Then 3 days afterwards, we received another letter requesting we take down the privacy fence. We have spoken with our neighbors and they are supportive of our fence. These are the people that will eventually make up our HOA. We are terrified for the safety of our child and pets if we have to take down our privacy fence. Hopefully you will understand why our circumstances are exceptional and that you will make a recommendation in our favor. Thank you for taking the time to hear why our fence is important to our family's health and safety without any negative effects to the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julie. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant before we go to public comment?
Yes, Ms. Trail, could you walk me through your process again? How did you come about putting up the fence?
Our process, well, we applied for putting in the privacy fence behind the split rail fence in July of 2019, and our neighbors applied in June of 2019, and they were approved. So then we installed the fence, and then 8 months after we installed the privacy fence behind the split rail, then the HOA contacted us and told us that we needed to take it down. And then after talking to the HOA, then they finally said that we needed a variance from the town of Parker, and then we proceeded down the path of figuring out how to do a variance, and here we are.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions for the applicant? John? No? Okay, thank you very much, Julie. We're going to go ahead and open it up for public comment at 7:34 p.m. The way public comment is going to work, just to remind everybody, because this is being seen not only on the Zoom meeting, but also on Facebook Live. So if you're watching this on Facebook Live and you would like to comment on any of the hearings that we have tonight, you can't do it through Facebook Live. You have to go to the Zoom meeting. And so there should be a link showing you there. Tom Barr is in the back manning our technology, and there should be a link for you to head over to the Zoom meeting. So if you're on the Zoom meeting, and you would like to speak, you'll raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, and then Danette, who is our superstar running the Zoom meeting over here, will acknowledge you. The public comment, it happens the same way. There's a 3-minute time limit. You'll state your name and address at the beginning of your public comment. Then I'll start the timer. Since you can't see the time, or you can kind of see the timer in the feed, it's above my head in the red numbers, but it's probably hard to read. I'll let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and then at the end of your 3 minutes, I'll thank you, and we'll move on to the next public comment. So with that, we're going to open up public comment at 7:36 p.m. Danette, do we have anyone wishing to address council on this item?
We do. The first person is Me Denma.
Okay. So, Me, if you could go ahead and unmute yourself. I think you are unmuted. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. Hi, my name is Mi Yoon. I'm living 11092 Hayloft Street. Thanks for giving an opportunity to speak up this hearing. My community enclave at Pine Grove, 35 households currently living here. HOA is managed by developer Centric Communities. Actual home association is not really organized yet. I bought this house January 2018. Side fence was installed by developer after closing. I heard it will be 4-foot fence, but I actually couldn't see it. Also, salesperson advised me I can try to request 6-foot after HOA is organized. Since I moved in here, there was many dust, debris all the time flew inside my backyard. My dog was sick a couple of times because of these trashes. Also, I worry about traffic accident just right away, busy Main Street may cause by jumping my dog. 2019, April, my house was burglarized daytime. Front door was broken, house was damaged. 2 months later, July 2019, I requested a 6-foot neighborhood fence, got an approval by HOA. Julie, my neighbor, also got an approval too. Even 1 month later, we needed to replace the yard gate because HOA asked to match the fence color. So I didn't expect at all our fence will be a problem. My house is located cul-de-sac. Front side is a circle. Back side is more closer than Main Street, just 35 feet away. We worked with a legal specialist to find the right code. Our situation is exactly.
Okay. Oh, you muted yourself. Me. Let me pause. Go ahead. I'll add a few seconds. You can go ahead. You're unmuted now. Continue, Me.
Please allow us this variance. Our actual neighbors support us. this variance would not affect to the public safety. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much for your time. Danette, do we have someone else?
Yes, Brenda Owings.
Okay. Brenda, if you'll state your name and first go ahead and unmute yourself, Brenda, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please, and then I'll start the timer.
Sure. This is Brenda Owings. I'm actually on the board for Enclave, and I am with Century.
Okay. If you could state your
The reason I
address
wanted
for us,
to
please.
get on this was because the original on
Could you-
Julie's request. I'm sorry.
Brenda?
I'm 1-6.
Brenda,
This
could you go ahead and state your address for us, please?
Oh, I don't live in the neighborhood, so do you need my personal residence or my work address?
The work address is fine. We just have to have an address for the record.
8390 East Crescent Boulevard,
Okay.
Suite 650.
Thank you very much. Go
Greenwood
ahead.
Village, 80111.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, sorry. So originally when, I'm sorry, I don't have all the notes in front of me, but when 16022 submitted for a 6-foot fence, it was October 2018, and it was originally denied. And then they went again and submitted again, and I think it was July 2019, and the board denied it again as long as it followed the town's guidelines or the Enclave guidelines. Unfortunately, what was sent to the homeowner was different than what was replied to in an email back to the management company, and the management company approved it with saying it just needed to match community fencing. And that is why the violations then went out to the homeowners saying that they didn't match the fence guidelines. So we went back to the management company and asked them to have the fences retracted because the management company sent out the wrong information on the fences. So originally, the architectural committee for the HOA denied all the fences and putting a 6-foot fence because we knew what the fence guidelines were for the city or the town. So the information that was sent to the homeowners was different than what was given to the management company.
Okay, do you have anything else for us tonight?
Sadly, not at this time, no.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me reset that. Danette, do we have anyone else for public comment?
No, we don't. Is Julie allowed to speak again?
If first, let's
The
go.
applicant, okay.
Let's go with if
No
council.
other-
If council requests any questions from the applicant, then they could. All right. So with that, we're going to close public comment at 7:41 p.m. Council, any questions you have, or at this point, I would entertain motions because you have 2 items in front of you.
I have a question for Brianna. If on any home in Parker, if I want to build a fence on my property line, I do have to pull a permit with the town of Parker, correct?
You do not. If it's
Okay.
less than 8 feet, a permit is not required.
Okay.
If it's less than what?
8 feet in height.
Okay.
Okay. John, you had a question, and then Jeff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just, I guess, going back to the visual examples that the applicant provided, it looks like there's some continuity with the ask and sort of what is built, if you will. I guess I'm looking for direction on, is that an enforcement issue, or could you articulate why the larger fences are there that are adjacent to open space? I'm just looking for context.
So a number of the images that she provided are in older neighborhoods. So a number of those locations were built prior to 2001 when the ordinance was put in place. For the location across Main Street, that area was zoned right-of-way when that neighborhood was built. Therefore, it was built in compliance as if it was an open space at that time.
Okay, so, and this may go beyond the scope of, I'm just trying to figure out if in this situation, I mean, who's responsible for compliance? I mean, I know an HOA is more restrictive, and I know that there was a little bit of a I guess miscommunication. I don't know how to resolve that, quite honestly, but I'm just looking if we got to this point, whose responsibility ultimately? If applicant says I'm not going to take it down because of the information that I got, how do we resolve this situation if the wrong information got to applicant? And I guess I'm just looking for some help here. Can you help me?
Or is that a Jim Maloney question?
Yeah, that might be a Jim Maloney question.
Let me look at it from this perspective.
Yeah.
It seems to me that there may be a private dispute
Okay.
between the landowner and the management company. And I would leave it up to a court of law to determine responsibility for the cost to remove that sign. In terms of enforcement, it's the towns now, because those fences do not comply with our sign code, so it would be an enforcement action by the town. The old fences that are up would be what we would call legal non-conforming uses. So once those fences are deteriorated to the point they have to be replaced, they cannot be replaced with the same fence. They'd have to be replaced with the 4-foot model sign, or fence that's recognized by our. I've been dealing with too many sign code issues.
I'm sorry about that, too.
Thank you. They would have to comply with the 4-foot fence rule that we currently have in the books since 2001, correct?
Correct. Okay. Jeff?
Brenda, can you go back and explain what the purpose of the split rail against open space was versus the privacy fences?
Yes, so the intent of the ordinance, it was put in place to make sure that there's really eyes on these open areas. The open spaces, typically there's parks, trails, and pedestrian activities happening there. So it's really just to provide enhanced safety and just make sure that there aren't walled off canyons where there's no one watching those areas, and just really provide that enhanced safety in those areas.
Okay. I think, just a comment, I think, my neighborhood faces that too, with Pine Drive running behind our neighborhood with the 250 new apartments that are back there. They're all split rail because we have open space that's considered, but it's about maybe a 5-foot strip of open space, but it's still designated as open space, not what you'd consider, the forest at the end of our neighborhood. So it seems to me that there would be somewhere to look to say, are we meeting the intention of what we meant back in 1990, right, by not having closed off open spaces. But in this instance, where it backs up to Main Street and there's a walkway through there, it seems to me like these neighbors are not looking for privacy, they're looking for security. So there may be something we need to look at with the ordinances that addresses security in those areas as opposed to the privacy issues.
Okay, Shell, did you have your hand up?
No, I didn't, but I'll make a comment. As a longtime open space proponent, our goal has been not to create these fence canyons. And so that's why you've got this issue with split rail, because it provides an opportunity to provide some security for the yard, but not create the canyon effect. So, and I'm sure that's kind of what's been happening with our code, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, you have 2 items in front of you guys. John?
Yeah, to me, it's just, I understand. I'm sort of challenged. I think Councilmember Toborg, sort of has identified maybe a future study session item that we can discuss. To me, it's one of those situations that is this a situation for convenience or safety? With the variance criteria, I'm struggling to get to an approval. But I understand the situation, and I think that there's a future opportunity to talk about situations like this in greater detail. So maybe we can kind of crystallize what our intent is. So thank you.
So, council, you have 2 items in front of you. I'd entertain motion on item 6.1. So the options you have is you can make a motion to approve the variance. You can make a motion to deny the variance.
I'll make a motion to deny the variance.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Cheryl and a second from Josh. And just to reiterate what this means, when you guys vote, a yes vote means you're voting to deny the variance.
So remember, we have 2 specific addresses.
Yep. So this was on the first one she did. So this is for 16022 Hayloft Lane.
To be clear, yes denies the variance, no Approves the variance and the fence stays up.
No, yes denies the variance, no is the negative of denying. It doesn't approve the variance. You'd have to have another motion to approve the variance. So the motion is to deny the variance. If that motion fails, then you would need another, correct, Jim? You would need a motion, you would need another motion to approve the variance.
Okay.
Right. So a denial, so if you vote no, that doesn't automatically approve the variance. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to deny the variance request. Council, please vote. Okay, motion passes 3-1 with the one no vote being Jeff Toborg. So that denies the variance request for property 16022. Council, you have in front of you in the same situation for property 11092. I would entertain a motion, please.
I move to deny the variance.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Josh and a second by Cheryl. Again, same rules, same situation as before. Please vote. Motion passes with one no vote from Jeff Toborg. Next item up on your agenda is item 6B. This is a public hearing for a tax and fee assistance program agreement for the Wild Goose Saloon. Jim Maloney, you're going to be the ringleader here.
Mayor and council, the Wild Goose.
Pull your mic in close, please. There you go.
Mayor and council, the Wild Goose Saloon submitted an application for financial assistance under the town's tax and fee assistance program. The town council is required to hold a public hearing before considering the TAP agreement for approval. The Wild Goose is planned as a 7,200 square foot indoor eating, drinking, and entertainment establishment with a 6,500 foot patio, and this would be all located within the greater downtown district of Parker. The Wild Goose would employ approximately 60 individuals when fully operational. The capital investment for the project is estimated at $3.6 million. Annual sales are estimated also at $3.6 million a year initially, growing to $4.2 million over a 3-year period. The Wild Goose meets the following goals for the TAP program. It produces increased sales taxes, provides new jobs, provides for the creation or enhancement of a unique downtown, and contributes to the diversity of jobs and employment opportunities. Under the agreement, the Wild Goose Saloon would receive the following: 50% of the enhanced sales taxes generated by the project, excluding the half-cent Parks and Recreation sales tax for a minimum of 3 one-year terms, and 50% of development fees, which include permit, plan check fees, and construction use taxes collected by the town during the construction permitting process for the initial construction of the project. The maximum period of time that the TAP agreement would be in effect is 3 years, or until the maximum sum of $154,000 is shared, whichever occurs first, and at that time the agreement would terminate. Any questions, Mayor, Council?
Council, do you have any questions for Jim? Nope. I see the applicant is on here. Gene, do you have any, would you like to make a presentation, or do you have any comments?
I just, appreciate the opportunity to get support for these projects that we're building in the downtown corridor, and we look forward to possibly doing more in the future.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gene. It is a public hearing, so we'll open it up for public comment at 7:53 p.m. Same rules as before. If you're here to comment on this item, go ahead and use your raise your hand feature. And Danette will call on you. You have a 3-minute time limit. You'll state your name and address at the beginning, and then I'll start the clock, and then I will remind you when you have 30 seconds left. Danette, do we have anyone wishing to address council on this one?
Nobody here for public comment, thanks.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment at 7:53 p.m. I'd entertain further discussion. John, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just to sort of bring this out into the public domain, when we had a discussion here, I looked at the enhanced sales tax and the development fees, and I kind of view those as kind of different. One's a business, one's sort of the construction cost. We talked about it, and again, that's more of a structural thing. It's not really specific to this project, but council has committed to talk about this at a greater depth here in the future. I think it's January. So with that, I would be in support of this agreement. Thank you.
Okay. I'd entertain further discussion or a motion. Josh?
I just want to commend Mr. Gregory on your devotion, both first to Parker, obviously, then to Castle Rock, and just to Douglas County in a whole. We appreciate you keeping it local, and we appreciate you building quality products in our community, sir.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion then.
I move to approve the staff recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion from Josh and a second from John. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item up is item 6C. This is Tax and Fee Assistant Program Agreement for Big Toolbox. Jim, you're going to be the presenter on this one too?
Yes, sir, and this concerns Jackalope Properties LLC. They submitted an application for financial assistance on the Town of Parker Tax and Fee Assistance Program. This is for the Big Toolbox. The Town Council is required again to hold a public hearing before considering a TAP agreement for approval. The Big Toolbox is planned to be a 32,000-foot indoor and an 87,000-square-foot outdoor business. It would include Ace Hardware, a nursery garden center, sprinkler center and repair, and this would all be located on Parker Road just south of Hess Road. The Big Toolbox will employ approximately 45 individuals full-time and 75 part-time when fully operational. The capital investment for the building is estimated to be $8.7 million. Annual sales are estimated at $5.3 million a year, initially growing to $8.7 million over 5 years. The Big Toolbox meets the following goals of the TAP program: reduces increased sales taxes, provides new jobs, and contributes to diversity of jobs and employment opportunities. Under the TAP agreement, the Big Toolbox, or in this case Jackalope LLC, will receive the following: 50% of the enhanced sales taxes generated by the project, excluding the Parks and Recreation sales tax, for a maximum of 6 one-year terms, and 50% of the development fees, which include permit, plan check fees, and construction use taxes collected by the town during the construction permitting process for the initial construction of the project. The maximum period of time for the TAP agreement will be 6 years, or until the sum of $600,000 is shared, whichever occurs first, at which time the TAP agreement will end. Any questions, Mayor, Council?
Thank you very much, Jim. Council, any questions for Jim? Cheryl, go ahead.
Yes. Most of our agreements have been for 3 one-year terms. Why is this one 6 one-year terms?
This was a discussion that occurred with council, and this is the direction that I received. I can only respond to the direction that I received from council.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I would just want to state for the record, I don't believe that most are 3-year terms. In fact, I would state that most are 5-year terms, the ones that I've been part of. I think the 6-year was reached by council, so we could, I think, get a little bit more friendly as far as the percentage-wise. We did recognize as council the investment they're putting into the community. We understood the groundwork, the excavating.
Those that I've been involved in have been 3.
Yeah, when that question came up, when council and study session, when this was brought to you, that question was asked, and staff did show that most of these over the history of this program have been 5 years. And then the direction you guys gave staff was what was presented tonight.
I mean, there's been a range of 3. The code allows for a maximum of 10, so.
Yeah. Okay. Other questions, council, before I go to public comment? Nope.
I think we have the
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize, do we have the applicant here? Yes. Okay, I apologize, and I don't even know who the I guess I should put
Marley
my glasses on here.
Marley.
All right, Marley. So I apologize, Marley. I thought you were here for public comment. So Marley, you're the applicant. You get to present to council if you'd like, or if you have anything else to add.
Sure. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and I certainly appreciate your consideration for helping to support our endeavor and bring in the big toolbox and Highlands Garden Center and our associated businesses to Parker. We're really excited and think it's a wonderful place for a second location for our business. And from what we've been hearing from our customers, and they're excited as well. So we appreciate your consideration and understand that this is a very expensive project for us, and it's ballooned in cost over time, and we're just excited to complete it and bring a wonderful end product to you guys.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Marley. Council, do you have any questions for Marley? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much, Marley. We'll go ahead and go to public comment. I'll open up public comment at 7:59. If there's anyone here to address council on this item.
There are no public comments.
Okay, then I'll close public comment at 8 p.m. and I would entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I just want to comment real fast.
Sure. Jeff, go ahead.
So just to comment, Marley, I am so excited for your business to come here. This past weekend, I needed a 6mm nut for my lawnmower. I ended up having to buy 5 of them for $4. So I'm really excited to be able to buy one from you, and I'm very, very excited about your business coming to town. Very excited.
So if there's anybody out there who needs a 6mm nut, Jeff has them for sale.
I have
they
4,
are
$1 each.
$1.49 each, and he'll hand deliver them to your house. So.
Yeah, also want to comment to Marley that I am highly in favor of his building, and I've been to Big Toolbox since they opened up in Aurora and went to on County Line Road. My opposition tonight is a 6-year term.
Okay. John?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I'll try to address both Councilmember Toberg and Councilmember Pogue.
You need a 9mm nut?
6mm.
Or 6mm nut?
No, I don't. But
Then I'm
I mean,
out.
Then he's
I'm
out.
out.
I don't know what he's addressing.
the big toolbox was sort of a unique place to go to. It seemed like that they sort of had a little bit of everything when you were back in Parker, back in the old days, if you will. So that was more of a destination place to get a whole lot of everything before we had places that attempted to provide stuff like the big toolbox, such as Home Depot and Lowe's. So that very high-touch, customer-friendly environment was very inviting to Parker people as we, to Councilmember Pogue's point, went to County Line and Holly area to get our stuff. And to kind of follow up on the 6-year term, 5-year term, yeah, I mean, I think our discussion was we're very sensitive to the development costs and trying to make it work. The level of revenue that they're about to bring and the additional costs, I think, that were outlined by Economic Development Manager Matt Carlson, was that there were significant additions to the to this building, to this site. So. Council tried to get to where it needed to be in order to make this work, and adding a 6-year instead of adding, more money to a 5-year thing was more palatable to us because it's an earn-out. So that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. With that, I would entertain further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve the staff recommendation, please.
Second.
We have a motion by Josh and a second by Jeff. Council, please vote. Motion passes 3-1 with a 1 no vote from Cheryl Pogue. Before we adjourn for the night, in case there is anyone watching at home, just for edification on both of these last 2 items, these are tax and fee assistance programs, because there's some misinformation on there about what this means. Council did not approve that the town of Parker writes a check right now to either of these developers for their project. What has to happen in both of these cases is these projects have to be built and they have to be producing revenue, and they collect their sales tax like every business does, and they submit them to the town. And by the terms of this agreement, at the end of the year, a portion of that sales tax is rebated back to those businesses. So the town did not just write a check to these businesses. They have to produce. They actually have to make sales and make those limits and submit their taxes and be in good standing, and then they're rebated back those taxes and fees. So with that, we're going to go ahead and adjourn at 8:03, and have a good evening and go wash your hands, everybody.